Alright everyone, it's Tuesday and we start with the season 2024-25 away kit. It was unveiled officially yesterday and it's a return to the yellow. Finished with subtle green horizontal hoops as well as a bold clover crest for a standout new look, and I'm definitely not reading this from the club's press release. It will be completed by green shorts and yellow socks. The kit's available to pre-order now before going on sale a week today, July the 30th. And yeah, judging from some of the social media stuff I've seen, I know it's a dangerous game doing that. Plenty of people not a huge fan of this kit, I must say. Maybe I'm just a sucker for a yellow Celtic kit, but I absolutely love it. I think the photos just make it look brilliant. And I guess the kit makes it look brilliant as well, which is the most important thing. In fact, no, the most important thing is the photo shoot has given us some good meme content for your old dad to use over the coming days and weeks. Just what could these four possibly be laughing at, I wonder? Lovely to have you all with us for today's video. We're agonisingly close to 8,000 subscribers now. Current update here is 7932, so I'll make that 68 that we need to get to 8,000. It costs you nothing, so if you are watching this and haven't yet managed to click that button, I know it's a tough life, you've got a lot going on, and it's very difficult to just click on a wee subscribe button. You know what to do. Get us to 8,000. Much appreciated all of you who have signed up. It's not even a signing up thing. It's just clicking a button, really. So yeah, nearly 8,000. Hopefully we're there by this time tomorrow and can kick on. And yeah, we're gearing up for Celtic's second clash of the USA trip. We're playing Manchester City tomorrow. And it promises to be an interesting game as our kind of pre-season preparations just continue to step up the gears. We had a press conference probably only a couple of hours ago, to be honest. It was kind of late on in US time, so a lot of you may have been asleep as this happened, and it was Brendan Rodgers just prior to Celtic's open training session here at Wake Med Soccer Park in North Carolina. And Brendan Rodgers wasn't alone for this press conference. He was joined by new signing Kasper Schmeichel as the pair answered plenty of questions. Not all of them actually on Celtic. There was a US theme to many of them. What do you think about the growth of soccer in this country? What's your first memory of watching soccer? There was also a kind of comical moment when one of the American reporters went into all the kind of big local sporting rivalries in North Carolina before turning to Celtic. And I think we were all kind of expecting him to ask, talk us through the rivalry between Celtic and Rangers. But he ended up saying, and again, excuse my terrible American accent, Coach, how would you describe the rivalry between Celtic and Manchester City, man? Yeah, the reaction you probably have to my accent right now is similar to the reaction Brendan Rodgers had to that question, actually. Yeah, there is no rivalry between Celtic and Manchester City. So yeah, it was a kind of relatively light-hearted press conference there. There was a question on Luis Palma, who appears to be getting a lot of attention in the States. A lot of Hondurans have been turning out to see him, and Brendan Rodgers cracked a bit of a joke about the country of Honduras having 100 million people because they're just everywhere apparently. So that's a bit of a reminder about how popular Luis Palma is, if we needed it. There were some more kind of serious kind of things brought up in the press conference, serious in terms of football and Celtic. And I'll be honest, I'm kind of loathed to talk about Matt O'Riley potentially leaving. You may have noticed I've not really tended to do it too often on the channel. A few reasons for that. One, there's nothing really to report at this stage. Two, I don't think it's a particularly exciting topic. I think you would all probably much rather hear me talking about players potentially coming into the club rather than one of our best players potentially leaving. And three, I think it's just very simple. Until Celtic get a record bid, or certainly close to a record bid, Matt O'Riley won't be leaving the club. And it's as simple as that. So there's not a great deal to report. That hasn't stopped Brendan Rodgers being asked about it by a couple of people at the press conference. I think one of the Scottish journalists certainly, and an English journalist right at the start of the press conference, both asked about Matt O'Riley. The latest is that Atalanta have apparently bid £14.3 million plus add-ons for O'Riley on Sunday. That's been rejected by Celtic. Clearly that is well below our asking price for Matt O'Riley. Understood to be around £25 million, possibly up to around £30 million. On the situation, Brendan Rodgers says, I think we all understand, the people close to Celtic, the model Celtic works to. Matt's been at the club for 3 years. He's developed into the player he has, and he knows the privilege it is to play for Celtic. What I've seen with Matt is he's a first-class professional. He's a really humble guy who's really devoted to his profession, and he knows what he has here. We're all quite relaxed about it. Every player has a value, but we see him as a really important player, and while he's here, we'll continue to develop him and improve. So the big headline there for me was that Celtic are relaxed about the Matt O'Riley situation, and I think as a support, that's how we should feel as well. I get that it's always worrying, the prospect of losing one of your best players, and more so the having to replace them, and we don't really have a huge amount of confidence in the club to be able to replace someone like Matt O'Riley at the moment. I get that totally. I look at it as a real positive situation. We've signed him for 1.5 million, and we're either going to hold on to him for another 6 months, 12 months, or he's going to leave this summer for probably a club record fee. So that's not a bad situation to be in at the moment. So let's just see how things play out and move on. I saw, obviously, Kasper Schmeichel at the press conference. He was sitting next to Brendan Rodgers, and I found myself just watching Kasper Schmeichel throughout the press conference, even when the manager was speaking. And I don't know, I'm just totally and utterly convinced that Kasper Schmeichel is going to be a really good player and a really good signing for Celtic. Even, and I'm not usually someone like this to say this kind of thing, but even just the way he was talking and everything he was saying, I can imagine Joe Hart saying that. And I just think he already understands what Celtic are about. And he's just saying the right thing. So I'm just really excited about him and to see how he gets on. And he seems to already be settling in to the club with his new teammates. He spoke a little bit about his first few days at the club, saying they've made it really easy to integrate. I've been here for a couple of days now, and we've had some travelling, and I've tried to integrate myself into the team. Football players, we're quite easy to get on with usually. We enjoy the same kinds of things. We have some games on the bus and stuff like that. And I get myself involved in that. From the footballing point of view, I'm lucky that I've worked with the boss before and I know his style, his principles, so it's not completely foreign to me. He also spoke about Celtic being the first club that he's ever played for that have had like a winning culture, a history of excellence, a history of the highest standard. So I thought that was an interesting point as well. And he just seems like he's already like buzzing to be at the club and is going to embrace everything, everything about being at Celtic. I think he's going to be a great player for us. And I just can't wait for it all to start. I really hope we see him against Manchester City. I'm sure we will. Another thing I noticed, by the way, just on his training talk during the press conference, not sure if this is something that has been announced yet. Apologies, it probably has. But he did have a number 1 on his training top there. So he is clearly going to follow Joe Hart as our literal number 1. we should get to see him tomorrow night, hopefully, against the team where he started his professional career, Manchester City. And it's fair to say they've come on a fair bit over those 20 years. They're now regarded by many as the best club in world football. I know they didn't win the UEFA Champions League last season. They did win the FIFA Club World Cup back in December, so they kind of literally are the best team in world football. Managed by Pep Guardiola. And a bit of a fun fact that you'll no doubt have heard by now, that Celtic are one of only 2 clubs that Pep Guardiola has faced in his managerial career and not beaten. He's faced 146 different clubs in his managerial career and only failed to beat ourselves and Wigan Athletic. And he's actually only played Wigan once in comparison to the 2 matches against us and Brendan Rodgers in 2016. So that's a pretty cool stat. And I reckon we've got a decent enough chance of keeping that run going tomorrow. That's because City don't have their full first team squad over with them in the States. This is the full squad here. And while there are certainly some very recognisable names, mainly right at the start there on the left-hand side, there are also plenty of young players who you probably won't have heard of. This is their first fixture since their FA Cup final loss to Manchester United, at the same time as we were beating Rangers in the Scottish Cup final. So they should be kind of rusty and just kind of starting out on their pre-season journey. So I think it's an opportunity for us to get a positive result and feel good about ourselves. And by the way, just going back to that, I am very aware that most of those young players would still have a chance of walking into our first team. But I certainly feel a bit better about our chances after seeing this. So the game is at Keenan Stadium in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. This is where it is, just for any of you who like that kind of thing. And the stadium itself, it's a pretty big stadium, around about 50,000 it holds when full. Usually home to American football side North Carolina Tar Heels, who play in the Atlantic Coast Conference. The stadium actually hosted a football match this time last year as well, Chelsea versus Wrexham. And straight away I was a bit like, Wrexham's a bit of a kind of small club to be playing in a glamour friendly. Then I remembered obviously the kind of Hollywood link they have with the 2 actors who own the club. Chelsea won that game 5-0. You may be unsurprised to hear. I think they got a huge crowd for that last year. Not sure if it will be a sellout for the game tomorrow, but I think it's worth a lot of money to the local economy, to the extent that they've laid a proper grass pitch for this match to replace the usual synthetic surface. So it seems like there's a bit of a buzz around the place. As far as Celtic are concerned, just hoping to see just kind of gradual development of the team over the course of pre-season and probably a more recognisable team tomorrow. Hopefully see Cameron Carter-Vickers and Dyson Maeda play their first matches of pre-season. Kasper Schmeichel as well. More game time for Callum McGregor, Rayo Hatate, Matt O'Riley, James Forrest, Greg Taylor. Hopefully just see more of these guys, get them some more minutes in the legs and just continue the build-up to the new season. In terms of kick-off time, the game is a 7 p.m. local kick-off in North Carolina. So if you're local to there and you're going to the game, for example, that's when to head for. That means it's a midnight kick-off tonight if you're based in Scotland, England, Ireland, etc. If, like me, you're the other side of the world, if you're in Melbourne or Sydney, it's a 9 a.m. kickoff tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to watching it with my crunchy nut. And the kickoff time still works fine for doing a video afterwards. So there'll still be a video for you waking up first thing tomorrow. And there should be plenty to talk about from the match and the kind of post-match quotes and all of that stuff. So, enjoy the game and let's hope it's a positive result.